Now I know I blue balled you in the last video by cutting things off short, and the reason I wanted to do that was because I wanted to group constructors and objects together because you're going to kind of see how they work together and they make the same thing. So we have the exact same file that we had before. We can walk through it just so you guys remember, or if this is the only video you're tuning into, we'll see that we already have this set up. We have our main function set up with our header file included in our lemming.cpp, which is our lemming class. You'll see that we have this up here, which is going to be our constructor, and we have a function that we made. Now notice how the constructor does not have a data type defined, and it is named exactly after the class. So it is a function with the same name as the class. And in our header file, we see that we have prototyped, if you want, some our headers of our functions. We have our constructor function, which is the lemming function, and we have our void function with the data type included. Now, what exactly is a constructor? Well, by seeing what exactly a constructor is, we need to look at what exactly an object is. Now, we know that our main function over here is the script of our program. You need to be able to follow what's inside of the main to be able to know what your program is going to do. So you have to list it inside there. We can't just design all this stuff in another class, put all these functions in another class, and then ignore them. We need to go over and mention them in here. And we do this with objects. Now, the way you're going to make an object is do the following. An object will allow you to access the class. So first thing we want to do is want to name the class. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to type lemming. And the lemming is going to be the name of your class. Now you're going to want to put a space and you're going to write the name of the object. In this case, the object, we can call it whatever we want. You can make it something simple. We'll call it lemming object, just to keep things extremely basic, and you're going to put a semicolon at the end there. Now this means that lemming is a class and lemming object is the object. Simple enough. Now, whenever you want to use something that is inside of your class, you're going to want to write lemming object, because that's the name of the object to access that class. You're going to put a dot or a period, and then you're going to write the name of the function that you want to access. In this case, we want to access function. So right there, now we are accessing function inside of our lemming class. And before we go ahead and run this, I want to mention the constructor that we saw before. Now, we are accessing this function down here. We know that we listed it, lemming here as the function with the 2 colons. We define the data type. We're not doing any calculations, so we can just use void. Now, what was the purpose of the constructor? Every time you use an object that is going to access the lemming class, it's going to call upon the lemming constructor as well. So here I'm going to show you guys an example of this. Let's go ahead and write something. This is from the constructor. End line. So whenever you use anything inside the class, you're going to get this first message, and then you're going to go ahead and you're going to get this message if you were to call upon this one. And as you see in the header file over here, we did not put any data type for the constructor. You just list it. And it's going to be the same name as your class. Simple enough. So if we go over here, now we see, we'll run this through one more time before we go and run it. We have the name of the class, lemming. We have a lemming object, which could be whatever we want, lemming object. Now we use that object that we just created, lemming object, a dot, and then the name of the function you want. You're not going to do it with the constructor because the constructor will automatically be called. So now we can expect, right here, I'll put it in the comments, you're going to expect lemming function and function to appear on separate lines. So right there, we're going to expect what we've had in the lemming constructor and in the void function, I guess you want to write it like that, to appear on separate lines. Let's go ahead and run to see if this is true or not. We have a build succeeded, and we're going to see that this is from the constructor, and this is from the function. This is a function inside of the lemming class. Now, I just want to show you guys that you can literally call these objects whatever you want. We can call it turnip, and we go down here and we change the same thing. We're going to call it turnip, and you can press build and run again. And we'll see that it's going to work just as the same. So it does not matter what you call those objects so long as you just know what you're calling them. If you call it the name of the class and then the word object, I think it's a little bit simpler. You can put the name of the class and just put the letter O at the end for object. It doesn't matter. Just write one word that will allow you to access the class. So it's a little bit of a confusing idea, but I hope you understand. Your first thing that you write inside of both of your class and your header is going to be the constructor, which is just going to be a function with the same name as the class. And you're not going to use a data type, and this is always going to appear first when you call upon something using an object. And you'll see the same thing in here. Other things to remember, do not touch all the the preprocessor commands that are included when you create your header, and also make sure that you have the exact same things inside of your CPP files, and make sure that you always include the header file, which is something we also saw last video. Whoops, I did not mean to do that. Undo drag. There we go. Okay, so I hope you guys understood that. It was a little bit more complicated than usual, but I hope you guys are able to work past that, and now we can actually move on to better things. So this was the hard video we've seen so far. Now things will get a little bit easier, and then we'll build up to hardness again. All right, goodbye. Hardness.